What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, bringing home the bacon MLB DFS video. It is Friday. It is September 1st. We are 6 days away from the NFL season. We're super excited about it. If you've still been looking for our link in the description of this video, you'll find today's article for baseball, and you'll also find our weekly DraftKings Fantasy Football League. So 200 available spots. If we can get them all filled, it's $10 a week. And if we get 200 spots, top 5 places pay. First place is $580. It will still run depending on how many lineups we get in. So if you guys can get in there, that would be awesome. We're going to start it off real quick. If you've never been here before, anytime a video gets 50 likes, you leave a comment and you're a subscriber, you have a chance to win a free week of DFS content. 100 likes equals a free month. 125 likes equals a free year. And 150 likes, any video, 150 likes, someone will win a lifetime pass, brought to you by FantasyTeamAdvisors.com. So, that being said, we're going to see who is the winner of yesterday's video. Let's check it out right now. You can win multiple times. Jan Alts, 3-3-2-1 stack today, and don't be afraid to play best 60% owned pitcher or Lau owned bats against them. That is how you play win the game. I assume that's what it was, but congratulations. If you see this, hit the like button. And then 2 ways to get a hold of us. dfshelp1@gmail.com. That's dfshelp, the number 1 at gmail.com. And give me, if you have a username on the website already, let me know. If you don't, let me know the username you would like and the email you would like to use. Or you can hit us up on Twitter at advisors_team. We'll get you set up on the website for the free pass that you just won. And you can come back tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day, and you have a chance to win. So congratulations to Jan Alts. We are back to breaking it down. So we have a 15-game slate after a terrible 4-game total slate on Thursday. I will say I did play the Yankees-Detroit Showdown. I did 14 lineups on DraftKings, and I doubled my money. So we had a good time there. We are starting to get in the swing of MLB. Is kind of where we know that it's winding down. NFL is starting. I've already started the matchup tool that you guys saw in yesterday's video. If you didn't, go check that out. I'm starting on the cheat sheet very soon, and we'll move forward. So really not going to touch this game outside of, you're not going to play an all-day slate with this. I don't mind if you do like a showdown here, but a showdown's really up and down. I've also got a breakdown of 250 showdown, so the perfect lineups in showdowns from last year. I'm doing an article on it. Probably do a video on it as well, but feel very good about it because we had a break. We're breaking it down to show you the captain spot, the percentages, everything like that. So that'll be on the horizon, but definitely check out the website because that lineup or that article will go live soon. So that being said, this is really a showdown one. I'm not really going to touch it much. Tournaments with showdowns, you got to have both pitchers in there, and if you're not doing that, you got to find the batter. So your batters are going to go against your pitcher most likely. You just got to be able to find the batter that does. Being in Cincinnati, it's Great American Small Park. The ball could fly out of here. So definitely something to think about when building your showdown lineups. First game here, well, technically, so this game is not on the slate. This is a makeup game here. This game's not on the slate as of now, so definitely make sure you don't get screwed over when you're building your lineups. But we'll move on to the main slate. Marlins at the Nationals. You got Yuri Perez versus Jake Irvin. Absolutely love me some Yuri Perez. Coming down here is 8,800. Game logs, pretty good games here against Washington, and had a really good game against the Dodgers. Now he's facing Washington yet again, who he just had a good game against. Splits-wise, he's faced him twice this year, 11 innings pitched, 1 earned run with 13 Ks. He's averaging 24 fantasy points, and he's 8,800. I'm all over that. I think he's going to be, if you look at the pricing, you're going to see like Glasnow, you're going to see Scherzer, you're going to see all of these big names. I think if you want to go down, I mean, look at all the guys that he's below. He has a better matchup than Max Fried, I believe. He has a better matchup than Singa. I mean, he's got really good matchups here. So I really like Yuri Perez as a cheaper mid-tier option on this slate that I don't know what people are doing with up here right now. So we'll obviously dig into that a little bit. And then you got Jake Irvin, which I really am not going to do much with. He's down here at 6,100. Game logs, he has gone 6 innings. He has actually hit his value pretty well. He did his last start. Barely hit his value against Miami. With Jorge Soler maybe still being out, we'll have to kind of monitor. We'll kind of see. He's 2 games started against the Marlins, 11 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 7 Ks. That's actually not bad. He's just not averaging a ton of fantasy points. So depending on what the Vegas numbers say about this, you could be looking at Jake Irvin here as a cheaper option. But we can definitely look at it a little bit more. Tournament-wise, I don't mind him. If you want to look at the bats, we can definitely look at the bats real quick. Depending on who's in, for Miami, if Jorge Soler's in, I like him, but again, I don't know. Kind of look at them. If you want to go cheaper options, Jake Berger, and then you could look at Chisholm. Then you could look at Jesus Sanchez, Brian De La Cruz, or Josh Bell. Washington bats, I'm probably avoiding Washington bats. I'm going with Yuri Perez here, and I don't want really anything to do with Washington bats at all. Next game, Mariners at the Mets. You've got to be announced versus Kodai Senga. Senga's never faced them before. They've been a really hot-hitting team lately. Let's see if we can find out who is pitching. Maybe Logan Gilbert, but I don't want to speculate. He did pitch last Saturday, so if it is him, he had a really good game against Kansas City. Hasn't faced the Mets this year, which, good or bad, just depending. Pitching on the road, he's actually better on the road, and it's a better ballpark for him. So I don't mind him against the Mets. Problem is he's 9,300 if he is the pitcher. I like Yuri Perez at 8,800 if I'm going to be in that same range. And then I like Eduardo Rodriguez a little bit more there. And then Kodai Senga here, it just depends on if Julio's out and if he's had success his last 4 starts. Not the best teams he's faced, but now he's pitching at home where he is better at home. So 9,600, I don't mind him at 9,600. That puts him right in the, if I'm taking a pitcher, I kind of maybe like him a little bit more than Gilbert in this one. If we're looking at the bats, obviously with the Mets, DJ Stewart's coming off his career game 2 nights ago. Pete Alonso's obviously an option. Lindor's an option. Vogelbach had a home run, I believe, in that. I would use Alvarez. Those would be the ones I'd use. Mariners, depending on what's going on with Julio, kind of would look at Julio, Teoscar Hernandez, Eugenio Suarez, Cal Raleigh. GPP options would be Mike Ford, JP Crawford, and Dylan Moore in that game. So, if I'm using pitcher here, I'm probably using Senga. I don't really know about if I feel confident enough with Gilbert, maybe in tournaments, if he is in fact going to be the pitcher that pitches, but we are still waiting on that to be confirmed. This is going to be one of those slates where it's going to get interesting because we got a lot of great pitching matchups, a lot of great pitching options that I think you guys might feel confident about. And, I think it's going to work out. There's going to be a lot of chances here to differentiate yourself with as much pitching as on the slate. Kind of like this. We got Tyler Glasnow versus Cal Quantrill. So Glasnow, we know he's a stud. He's 11,200. He's the most expensive pitcher on the slate. Coming off a pretty good game against the Yankees. 6 innings, no earned runs, 4 Ks. The Ks were down a little bit. I will give that. They were down just a little bit. Cleveland doesn't strike out a ton, so that's the only thing I'm a little bit scared of. Paying 11,200 and seeing Cleveland not striking out as much as we would need. We'd probably need about 7 to 8 strikeouts out of Glasnow. So kind of just looking at him, pitching on the road. He's a little bit worse on the road, but this, it's the Guardians. They did just, apparently waivers don't follow like normal like fantasy football, fantasy baseball waivers. If a team, puts waivers on every single player, they apparently get them, aka Cleveland. I don't understand how they work, but they'll have a little bit different lineup. Depending on who's out there, obviously both of these teams can hit. And then you got Cal Quantrill here. I want to say he just got called back up, but I could be wrong. So he's off the IL. Game logs, he hasn't pitched since July 5th, and then before that it was, a month. So he came in, pitched twice, and then went back hurt. That is what scares me a little bit. I don't know what I'm expecting here. I don't know what to expect out of him. Probably, is he going to be on a restriction? Should be fully stretched out, 89 pitches, but he hasn't pitched in a while. It's been, what was that? Almost 2 months since he's pitched. So I don't like that. I'm probably avoiding him. I would look at the bats in this one. I think I'd probably more lean towards Glasnow and go away from Quantrill. And then I would look at Tampa Bay bats over the Guardians. Yandy Diaz, Randy Arozarena, Luke Raley, Brandon Lau, Josh Lowe, and a Paredes if you're looking for a Tampa Bay stack. And then, the one-offs of Jose Ramirez or Bo Naylor or Cole Calhoun would be the only Guardians bats that I'd really feel confident about. Then we take a look at the Twins at the Rangers. Joe Ryan versus Max Scherzer. Honestly, I don't know. I think I would probably take Scherzer in cash and Joe Ryan in tournaments. Scherzer being here, just faced this team his last start, 28.8 fantasy points. Went 7 innings there, 2 earned runs, 10 Ks. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes like that. I think if I'm going to pay up at 11,000, I'm probably going to take Scherzer over Glasnow, just because Glasnow is facing a team that doesn't generally strike out as much. And then we'll look at Joe Ryan here. 19.1 against Texas, 5 innings there, 1 earned run, 7 Ks. At his price, I don't mind him. It's, again, hey, the players just saw this pitcher. Do you feel confident that they'll kind of repeat the same thing? That I don't know. Bats-wise, though, obviously with Texas, it's Marcus Semien. Corey Seager probably hits another home run. Jonah Heim I would look at. Nate Lowe I would look at. Garcia. Those would probably be the ones. Maybe Duran or Taveras. Twins, Max Kepler, Matt Wallner, Carlos Correa, Julian, Royce Lewis. Those are probably the only ones I look at there. So in this game, I'm more focused on Scherzer and Rangers bats over Joe Ryan and the Twins bats. Red Sox at the Royals. You've got James Paxton versus Jordan Lyles. I want nothing really to do with Jordan Lyles. I'll look at Paxton and the Red Sox bats. So just looking at Paxton, he is, did I miss him or is he down here? Oh, he's further down than I thought. 7,500. Problem is he's not been going deep into games. That's the only problem. Hasn't had 2 good games here. Faced Kansas City on August 10th at home. 5.1 innings there, 24.4. If he could replicate that in this ballpark, which is a pitcher's park, that would be awesome. The problem is he's not going deep into games. So I don't know what's going on. Splits-wise, he's faced him once he had 6 Ks there. So if he could do that, 24.4 at his price is golden. Over 3 times value there. So I will take him against Kansas City. Jordan Lyles, I don't want anything to do with. I'd rather stack this game here. If you're not going with Paxton because you think he's either going to get lit up or you think that possibly, he doesn't go deep into games, that is obviously an option. Against Lyles, I would take Devers. I would take Tristan Casas, Justin Turner, Yoshida, Verdugo. Adam Duvall's been heating up lately. He would be ones that I would use out of this Boston lineup. If you're not going with Paxton, I would look at maybe MJ Melendez, Garcia, Bobby Witt, Sal Perez, maybe Freddie Furman. But I'd probably stick with Perez and up here. The darker red obviously is what we're looking for. So at the moment of this video, I will take some Paxton, but I might be only tournaments for the main and only fact that he hasn't been going deep into games. And then I just don't trust Lyles, and I'd rather take the Boston bats. Tigers at the White Sox, Eduardo Rodriguez versus Touki Toussaint. I know Toussaint's been pretty good lately, and we're going to look at this. I love Erod, though. Looking at Erod, 9,400 I think is kind of cheap for him. Game log-wise, didn't do good against Houston, but that's Houston. Faced Cleveland, they don't strike out a ton. He struck 6 of them out for 26. Didn't do good against Boston. It really just depends on what you think we're going to get out of Erod. Is he going to go deeper into games? That's the problem. He's faced the White Sox once this year, 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 6 Ks, 19.3. I will take that at his price. That would be the double value that we're looking at there. And then we got Touki Toussaint, which is going to be cheaper. He's 6,000. Problem is, 5 innings is about the max you're going to get out of him. Strikeouts about 4. So depending. He's 6,000 against Detroit. I'm okay with if he could do something like this. Hasn't faced them this year, pitching at home. He's got a 403, so while it is 403, he is better at home. So that definitely helps out a little bit if you use in that sense. We definitely could look at Toussaint for a tournament option. So I think looking at here, Erod is a cash option. Toussaint is your tournament option. Looking at the bats real quick. If it'll load. If I'm not using Toussaint and I am using the Detroit Tigers, Parker Meadows would be a cheap option. Spencer Torkelson, I'd look at. Riley Green. Kerry Carpenter he's kept hot on Thursday. He kept it up. I would look at him. Those would probably, maybe Jake Rogers. I think Jake Rogers and up on this list, I'm okay with. Everyone else down below is really a dart play. Zach Short did have a home run on Thursday, but again, anyone below Jake Rogers, I just feel would be more of a tournament option for you instead of cash. And then White Sox bats outside of Eloy, Andrew Vaughn, Luis Robert, and Colas, they don't scare me. So tournament options I'm okay with. But yeah, if you want to go righties against Erod, it would be Eloy and Robert. And if you want to go some other plays, Trace Thompson, you can see he's trying to get some red there. You could look at him, but that's basically all I really want out of both of these offenses here. So I do like both of these pitchers. I think Erod's cash. I think Toussaint is tournament. Yankees at the Astros. Carlos Rodon versus Verlander. In his career, Carlos Rodon has done pretty well against the Astros. Problem is, he's looked pretty bad for the Yankees going into this game. Verlander, opposite. He's done really well against this team. He's already faced them, I believe, twice this year. As you can see, if you haven't noticed, and I don't know how you wouldn't know, the Yankees are calling up some of their younger players. So all the waivers went out Thursday. So the new people should be on their new teams. Whether or not they're actually going to be on the team, that is something to look at. But yeah, let's take a look. Carlos Rodon here. Game logs are a really good game against Tampa Bay. Only 4.2 innings, but he had 7 Ks. It was his best start of the year. That's not saying much. At 6,700, he's faced Houston once this year. He went 2.2 innings, 5 earned runs, and then he left hurt. So he's facing the team that he left hurt at his last time he faced them. Overall, he has had success against them. He has brought his ERA down to 5.97. It was like 8, so that's a plus, but it's still a high ERA. Then you got Verlander. There's a reason he's right here. 5th highest priced pitcher on the slate. Game logs, he's faced the Yankees 3 times this year. 3 times, I guess. 19 innings pitched in 3 starts, 3 earned runs with 16 Ks. He's averaging 20.7. Now, whether or not, the Yankees youngsters come in and hit him well, we'll see. Judge did rest on Thursday, did come in pinch hit in the 10th inning, I think, in extra innings. So he should be rested. Then we've got the guy we've all been waiting for. Is he on? Jason Dominguez is $2,000. He's a switch hitter. They call him the Martian. Switch hitter. His first game is against Justin Verlander. I am going to be taking him almost in all lineups because he is $2,000 in a sport where it's usually like $4,000, $3,000, $3,500. So he will be an option. He will be in the lineup. Austin Wells will be in the lineup. As the catcher. Do they not have him yet? No, they don't have Austin Wells yet. If he's added, we'll see. But I will definitely look at going very contrarian. I don't mind Rodon in tournaments. Verlander obviously is going to stud. He's probably going to shove. But in case he doesn't, I will have a Yankee stack. It will consist of Glaber, who's been absolutely on fire, DJ LeMay, who's been on fire, Jason Dominguez at $2,000. I want all my shares of Jason Dominguez at $2,000. I will put him in there. It's going to be a matchup. Whether he probably strikes out a ton against Verlander, but I will have exposure to him because getting called up. So this is a day where a lot of these players could get called up. It's September. The rosters do expand, so kind of be paying attention to the news. Use that news and build from it. Meaning, what I mean by that is you're going to probably see some players that get called up and they're very cheap. I would make lineups with them today. That would be the day that I do that. But again, if you're looking at Houston bats, obviously Jordan, Kyle Tucker, both hit lefties well. Bregman, Jose Altuve, an Astro stack is definitely not going to most likely lose you money today. So that would be another stack. But I will have stacks on both of these sides here for sure. Phillies at the Brewers, you got Zach Wheeler versus Freddie Peralta. Now, I don't know if I want really anything to do with Wheeler. The way, it just depends. He's faced 97 plate appearances of the Brewers, which is pretty good. It's a handful of starts, 268 average. We got Peralta here. Peralta is pretty expensive. Wheeler and Peralta are right next to each other. This could be a low-scoring game. Game logs coming off a fantastic game against St. Louis that we used him in. Hasn't faced Milwaukee this year. Wheeler is pitching on the road where he's a little bit better on the road, so that bodes well for him. Then you look at Peralta, 3.95 ERA. Game logs, pretty good games here. Splits-wise, he hasn't faced Philly this year, so neither pitcher has faced the other team. Then we look at this. He's pitching at home. He's a little bit better at home. I think this could be a low-scoring game. I don't know if I want anything to do with the offense in this one. But the fact is, both of these offenses have been on fire lately. So that bodes, like, that's both offenses have been really good, but both pitchers going have been good as well. So usually that means a low-scoring game. But if not, if you want to go with bats in this one, obviously the Phillies have a ton of bats that you could use. Schwarber, Bryce Harper just hit number 300. If you didn't see yesterday, I tweeted it out. I took a $25 bet, same game parlay, that Bryce Harper and Trey Turner both would hit a home run, and they did, and I won $475. Very excited. I would look at Harper, Brandon Marsh, I don't mind. Trey Turner has been absolutely on a different planet right now. Alec Boehm, I would look at. Castellanos, maybe a little bit. Bryson Stott, a little bit. Maybe Real Muto, too. So if you're not going with Peralta because, he does pitch better at home, but he's got an elevated ERA this year. I don't mind a Philly stack. On the flip side of that, if you're looking at Brewers, Christian Yelich has turned things around this year. I would look at him. William Contreras has been on fire this year. I would look at Santana. Willie Adames, I don't mind. Mark Canha, I don't mind as well. But again, I'm probably taking both of these pitchers in this one. Pirates at the Cardinals, Mitch Keller versus Dakota Hudson. Mitch Keller, I don't know what happened to him. Every time we've stacked against him, it's come through for us. We did not take him the last two starts. We took Cincy against him. They only had one earned run. We did take Atlanta. We took Milwaukee when we stacked against him. We took the Angels as a contrarian stack, and we did take Cleveland back when they were kind of doing something good in the division. Splits-wise, he's faced St. Louis once this year. 6 innings, 3 earned runs, 8.1 fantasy points per game. At 8,000, I don't know if I can I don't know. He's just been hit by teams you wouldn't think he would be. And he's pitching on the road where he does have almost a 5 ERA compared to 3.18. So I'm probably staying clear of Mitch Keller. Probably looking at the St. Louis bats, which is kind of crazy to think about. And then Dakota Hudson here going up against Pittsburgh. We did use him against the Mets, and he came through for us. But that's not like saying a ton. I would look at Dakota Hudson. The problem is he hasn't faced Pittsburgh this year. Pitching at home, 3.9 ERA. So in 4 starts, he does have a better ERA. Problem is, well, you are getting about 5 to 6 innings. So Dakota Hudson at 5,800, I don't mind him. The same pitchers around that price, though. I do like Toussaint for 200 more. Maybe a little bit of Irvin for 300 more. But Hudson for tournaments, I'm okay with. And if you're not going to take any of those or either of those pitchers and you're just looking at offenses here, we can definitely take a look at this offense. Pirates, if you're not taking Hudson, Ke'Bryan Hayes, who I believe sat on Wednesday. I'd look at Brian Reynolds. I would look at Jack Sawinski. I would maybe look at McCutchen. Indy Rodriguez would be a cheaper catching option for you. Maybe Connor Joe, but Connor Joe's on my list right now. He didn't do anything for me the other day. Cardinals bats that have been pretty good lately. I would look at Wilson Contreras. I would look at Paul Goldschmidt. Jordan Walker I would look at. I would look at Nolan Gorman Alec Burleson's going to be a cheaper option. Edmund and Arenado as well. But Arenado doesn't have a ton of red right now. So stick around in this little cluster here. Those would be the players that I'd look at against Mitch Keller on this slate. Blue Jays at the Rockies. I want nothing to do with the pitching in this stadium. I want everything to do with the bats. But the problem is the bats are going to be very expensive. I think I forgot to mention, towards the end of this video coming up soon, we will go over our top 2,000 simulations for Fanduel and DraftKings players. And those would be batters and pitchers. And then about an hour before the main lineup locks for the day, that's when we do 10,000 simulations, and you guys can see the difference. So that'll be coming up towards the end of this video. But I'm not looking at these pitchers. I'm looking at just the offense. I don't even have to dig into these numbers here. I want everything to do with both offenses. So Toronto did just put Bo Bichette on the IL yet again. So he is a power bat that's out, or a decent bat that's out. I mean, the only bat that is super red right now is Vlad. Vlad in the stadium, I wouldn't be surprised if he hits a home run. I would look at Brandon Belt in this stadium as well, righty on lefty matchup. George Springer. Varsho I would look at. You want to get a little bit cheaper options. Merrifield, Kiermaier, and Davis Schneider will be ones that I also would have at least a share of in tournaments. So looking at that would be there. If you're looking at Rockies bats here against Ryu, I would look at McMahon, Nolan Jones, Diaz here against the lefty. I don't mind Charlie Blackmon against the lefty as well. Maybe Brendan Rodgers. Just depends on what lineup. As you can see, they have a ton of players that could play at any given time. That is something to look at. You got to kind of find some value. So find some value bats once the lineup comes out, like a Hunter Goodman or Montero or Trejo. Those would be cheaper options than the main guys that you're probably focused on in both of these lineups. Then you got the Orioles at the Diamondbacks. Cole Irvin versus Zach. I ghosted my wife Davies. Again, if I've got a lot of new subscribers to this channel since we've talked about Zach Davies, Google Zach Davies and see what he did to his wife, or his ex-wife now. Pretty wild. And then he comes in and pitches. So you got Cole Irvin here, 5,200. Game logs, about the same. That's not really going to win you anything. It's not going to do much. 21.5 obviously would. Splits-wise, he has not faced Arizona this year. Pitching on the road, he is a little bit better on the road, but Arizona is a good hitting team, especially at home. And then you've got Davies. Where there he is. I mean, not bad here against Cincy at home. Not a good game against Atlanta, but it's Atlanta. Pittsburgh, kind of the same. Should have been better against Pittsburgh. Splits-wise, has not faced Baltimore this year. I'm probably staying clear of both of these pitchers. I'd probably look at both offenses. So as you can see at home, he's pitching 628 because he's got a guilty conscience. On the road, his conscience is even worse because he might be traveling on the road, and his conscience might think like, oh, I might run into my wife I ghosted. So I am off of Zach Davies as a human being and a pitcher, and we will look at the bats here because I think this could be a higher scoring affair than what you might think. And let's look at the bats because both of these teams have been hitting really well this year. Baltimore dominating the East, hitting really well. Everyone's in play. All the lefties are in play, especially Gunnar Henderson, Ryan Mountcastle. I don't mind Ryan O'Hearn, honestly. Anthony Santander is a switch hitter I would look at. Cedric Mullins is more of a tournament option. Adley Rutschman I would definitely use for the Orioles. And then Arizona. So with Cole Irvin being a lefty pitcher, that brings into play some batters here. So that brings into play Evan Longoria against the lefty. Tommy Pham hits lefties well, just like he hits his fantasy football opponents. And then Tommy Pham is going after fans on Twitter. If you don't know, go check it out. He's absolutely wilding out right now. Ketel Marte I would look at. Gabriel Moreno against the lefty. Corbin Carroll, even though it's a lefty-on-lefty matchup, I would definitely take him as well. Gurriel Jr. I love to use Gurriel Jr. anytime against the lefty. Christian Walker, same thing, anytime against the lefty. So I would definitely be looking at stacking this game as a game stack outside of stacking just one team. So I don't want anything to do with the pitching. I want everything to do with the bats in this one. Then you got the Angels at the Athletics, Patrick Sandoval versus JP Sears. Sandoval, without digging into his numbers, I kind of like him just because he's going against Oakland in this ballpark in Oakland. Game logs coming off a really good game at the Mets, which is a pitcher's park. Splits-wise, he's faced Oakland twice this year, 12 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 7 Ks, 18.2 average, and a 2.25 ERA. I'm okay with Patrick Sandoval here because it is this ballpark. So looking at that, JP Sears, so the Angels, they put a bunch of players on waivers. They're all gone. So you got Ohtani. I mean, one of their good hitters, I always love to target around Hunter Renfroe. And now we cannot do that. It's an impossibility. They have made it so. So I honestly don't know the lineup that's going to be coming out for the Angels. We can look at some of the bats, but I don't know who it's going to be. Against the lefty, I would take Ohtani still. I would take Brandon Drury. I would definitely take him. I guess, did he not get traded? Did nobody claim Randall Grichuk? R.I.P. my man. So, no one wanted him. Anyway, Randall Grichuk against the lefty. I will take him at 3,500. Luis Rengifo, I'll look at him as well. Flip side of that, if you weren't taking Sandoval for whatever reason, Ryan Noda, Rooker, Geloff, Langoliers, and Seth Brown, though right here and up, these are the batters that I would look at, the A's, but I am not focusing on the A's right now. Maybe some things change. Maybe the weather comes and changes. Maybe, but it doesn't really do much in Oakland outside of, looting and stealing, and that's also for San Francisco. Looking at that, I maybe go away from, but depending on what the Vegas numbers say and all of those odds, maybe we change it up a little bit. We'll have to see once a bunch of numbers and everything else comes out. But on the surface, I'd rather take the Angels bats, and I'd rather take Sandoval here. Speaking of looting, we don't know who's pitching for San Francisco, and this is basically the trend. If you've been with us before, you know this is a trend every single day almost. We don't know who the pitcher is going to be. DraftKings always shows somebody, but then it's never that person. So Tristan Beck, an opener, right? There's no guarantee it's him, so I really don't want to talk about that. But if it is him, then someone else will come in. And then it's Michael Wacha. So let's look at Michael Wacha. Did I pass him? There he is. He came back from injury 3 starts ago, and he's been pretty good except for his start against Milwaukee. Did well against Miami and Baltimore. Has faced San Francisco once this year, 6 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 5.9 fantasy points. That is not enough. Now, I know San Francisco's beat up since then. That was back on June 19th at San Francisco, and that was at Pitcher's Park. This is another Pitcher's Park. Petco is a Pitcher's Park as well. So we can look at Michael Wacha. Coming in, 2.84 ERA, 10-2 record. As tournament option, I'm okay with. But I'd rather probably just look at San Diego bats outside of we just don't know what pitcher is going to be going right now for San Francisco. So if you aren't taking Michael Wacha, I would look at J.D. Davis. I would look at Jock Peterson. Yastrzemski I'm okay with. Wilmer Flores maybe. I'm probably staying away from San Francisco. I'd rather take the Padres in this one. So Padres bats, Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, Gary Sanchez I'm okay with. Bogarts and Ha-Seong Kim are the ones I'd look at for San Diego. So probably avoiding the ghost that is the pitcher, whoever this is. Tournaments, Michael Wacha I'll put in tournaments, but I don't trust him in cash. Then the final game on the slate, Max Fried versus Julio Urias, the battle of the lefties against these two teams. I really don't want either pitcher. In cash at least. In tournaments, anything goes because you're trying to get a leg up on people. So Urias coming in, game logs, he did face, didn't he? He did not face Atlanta last time. Pitching at home, he's got a 2.30 ERA, so he is better at home, but this is... He still has a 4.41 ERA, 11.7 record, 113 strikeouts. He's still susceptible to home runs, and he still can get beat by righties. And these are two of the best teams, if not the two best teams in baseball right now. It might be a... this could be potentially an NLCS matchup that we'd be looking for. And right now, my money's on the Braves. So then we can look at Max Fried real quick. There he is down here at 9,000. Coming off some good games here. Splits-wise, he has not faced the Dodgers this year. Pitching on the road, he's got 2.15, but that's only 6 starts. Tournaments, I'm okay with both. Honestly, to be fair, maybe Max Fried in tournaments, but I'd rather take the offenses here. And I don't think I need to break it down which batters in these offenses, but I will, just in case we need to. So both sides of this. Matt Olson, even against the lefty, I'm very okay with. Ronald Acuna, Austin Riley, Ozuna, those all hit righties or lefties well. Sean Murphy or Travis d'Arnaud really depends. Hopefully it's Sean Murphy, which I expect it will be. I would take him. I would take Michael Harris. Eddie Rosario's been on another planet right now. Albies and Arcia. So there's so many. I think this is one where you make multiple Brave stacks. Flip side of that, though, I think you can make multiple Dodger stacks as well. Mookie leading off. Don't be surprised if he has a great game. Muncy, I'm okay with. Freddie Freeman, even against the lefty, I don't care. Will Smith dominates lefties. And Chris Rock. Ahmed Rosario, I would look at. I would look at James Outman. Those would probably be the ones I look at for both of these games. So while I'm looking at this, I'm probably against Julio Urias tonight. And I'm probably looking at Max Fried for tournaments and the Braves as a stack, multiple different Braves bats as a stack. And there you go, guys. There it is. That is the breakdown of all 14 games that are on the main slate for Friday. Let's take a look at our simulations real quick, see what we've got going on. So these will change. These are on the website under right here, MLB DFS player projections. You can find that there. I forgot to mention, if you want to sign up, FTA Plus is there too. So George Springer's number 1, Vlad Guerrero number 2. Number 3 batter is Kyle Tucker. Number 4 is Randy Arozarena. Number 5 is Corey Seager. 6 is Danny Jansen. 7 is Rafael Devers. 8 is Riley Green. 9 is Josh Lowe. 10 is Chas McCormick. 11 Spencer Torkelson. 12 Yandy Diaz. And 13 Isaac Paredes. So I wanted to do 13 because I want to show you a pattern. So out of the top 13, we have 3 Toronto bats in Colorado. We have 2 Houston bats in Houston against Carlos Rodon. We've got 4 Tampa Bay bats against Cal Quantrill off the IL in Cleveland. We've got 2 Detroit bats. And we've got 1 Boston bat. So that is the breakdown of the top 13 batters so far through 2,000 simulations. It will change. These will change by the time you watch this video or by the time the main slate locks, so just be aware. But pitcher-wise, it's got Freddie Peralta number 1. It's got Max Scherzer number 2. It actually has J.P. Sears number 3. Yuri Perez 4. Verlander 5. Wheeler 6. Glasnow 7. Sandoval 8. 9 is Eduardo Rodriguez. 10 is Max Fried. So there you go. There are the pitchers. There are the top batters according to 2,000 simulations, brought to you by FantasyTeamAdvisors.com. That's all I've got in this video for you guys. If you had success in the past, let us know. Join the links down below. We do have a Discord. I think it's going to start popping off during football season as well. And check out all the links in the description of the video. Good luck on this slate, everybody. And as always, let's bring home some bacon. Peace!